Hi. Today we will talk about Will Hunting, released in 1997. Will Hunting has genius-level intelligence, for example, an ability for remembering realities and a natural capacity to demonstrate refined numerical hypotheses. He functions as a janitor at MIT and lives alone in a meagerly outfitted loft in a ruined South Boston area. The primary 7-day stretch of classes, Will settles a troublesome alumni-level numerical question that teacher Gerald Lambeau, a Fields medalist and combinatorialist, passed on a blackboard as a test to his understudies, trusting somebody could tackle it by the semester's end. Everybody ponders who addressed it, and Lambeau puts one more issue on the board, -1 that took him and his associates 2 years to demonstrate. Will is found in the demonstration of tackling it, and Lambeau at first accepts that Will is vandalizing the board and pursues him away as Will affronts him. At the point when Will ends up having tackled it accurately, Lambeau attempts to find Will. One night after work, Will and his closest companion Chucky and 2 or 3 their different companions go to a bar close to Harvard College. At the bar, Chucky recognizes a delightful lady, Skylar, and he hits on her, professing to be a Harvard understudy himself. One of Skylar's kindred co-eds, Clark, attempts to embarrass Chucky, testing his insight into American frontier history. Will moves toward Chucky's safeguard, coordinating Clark step for step with authentic realities he'd remembered. A potential battle is in the end stopped, and Will observes that Skylar is drawn to him, getting her telephone number. A couple of days after the fact, Will goes harassed after a young him years before in kindergarten, and he presently faces detainment in the wake of hitting a cop who was answering the battle. An extreme appointed authority won't be deceived by Will's sharp information on regulation point of reference, which incorporates referring to a case from the 1700s. Acknowledging Will can possibly be an extraordinary mathematician, for example, the virtuoso Évariste Galois, Lambeau intercedes for his sake, offering him a decision. Either Will can go to prison, or he can be delivered into Lambeau's own oversight, where he should concentrate on science and see a psychotherapist to assist him with his resentment and guarded character. Will picks the last option despite the fact that he appears to accept that he doesn't require treatment. 5 clinicians neglect to interface with Will. Out of sheer distress, Lambeau at long last approaches Sean Maguire, an alienated close buddy and MIT schoolmate of his. Sean contrasts from his 5 ancestors in that he is likewise from South Boston and pushes back voluntarily and is ultimately ready to break through to him and his threatening, wry safeguard systems. At a certain point, Will dissects a watercolor painting that Sean had done himself and infers that it mirrors Sean's smothered sentiments and responsibility over the sudden passing of his significant other. Sean becomes irritated and unfriendly and gets Will by the throat, taking steps to sink his opportunities for change. So, all in all, Will closes the arrangement and leaves. Lambeau strolls in, accepting that Will has destroyed his possibilities with one more specialist. Notwithstanding, Sean considers Will to be a test and advises Lambeau to bring him back every week. In a later meeting, Will is especially struck when Sean lets him know how he surrendered his past to see the Red Sox in the 1975 Worldwide Championship to meet and invest energy with, a later turned into his outsider and bar spouse. Will is prodded to attempt to lay out a relationship with Skylar, a young lady he met at a bar close to Harvard. This specialist-patient relationship, in any case, is nowhere near uneven. Will difficulties Sean similarly that Sean is empowering Will to take a decent, hard, objective glance at himself and his life. Sean's own pathology is that he can't and reluctant to try and consider one more close connection in the fallout of his dearest spouse's sudden passing from malignant growth quite a while previously, potentially the essential justification for why Sean consents to take Will on as a client. In the meantime, Lambeau pushes Will so difficult to succeed that Will ultimately won't go to the prospective employee meetings that Lambeau has set up for him for places that could demonstrate testing, even to his monstrous gifts. Lambeau and Sean additionally quarrel about Will's future. Sean accepts that Lambeau is pushing Will to quit and furthermore brings up that Will's companions are the most committed and faithful individuals he connects with. Will's coincidental seeing of this enraged fight some way or another goes about as an impetus for his choice to enter a more profound degree of trust and imparting to Sean. He has obviously acknowledged from this occasion what is happening is somewhat more intricate than Will versus the world. He currently sees that these guides are just as human, error-prone, and tangled as he is. Skylar requests that Will move to California with her, where she will start clinical school at Stanford. Will panics at the idea. Skylar then, at that point, communicates support about his past, which is gotten as disparaging and sets off a fit of rage in which Will stomps out of the quarters while in a condition of stripped down. Sean brings up that Will is so proficient at expecting future disappointment in his own and close connections, that he either permits them to flame out or purposely bails to stay away from the gamble of future profound agony. At the point when Will then gives an unconventional answer to Sean's intense inquiry of how he needs to manage his life, Sean basically sees him out. At the point when Will additionally tells his closest companion Chucky that he needs to be a worker until the end of his life, Chucky turns out to be ruthlessly fair with Will. He accepts it's an affront for Will to squander his true capacity as a worker, and that his repetitive wish is to thump on Will's entryway in the first part of the day when he gets him for work and find that he simply isn't there, that he is left without bidding farewell. Chucky's genuineness strikes a chord with Will more than any other individual's, even a prepared proficient like Sean. Will goes to another treatment meeting, where Sean shares that he was likewise a survivor of youngster misuse. From the outset, Will is cautious and angry at Sean's rehashed consolations that it was not Will's blame that he was so horrendously mishandled and deserted. Will ultimately separates in mournful affirmation. At last, after much self-reflection, Will chooses to stop being his very own survivor internal evil presences and to assume responsibility for his life. At the point when his pals present him with a reconstructed Chevy Nova for his 21st birthday, he chooses to go to California and rejoin with Skylar, saving his worthwhile corporate and government bids for employment. Will leaves a short note for Sean making sense of what he's doing, utilizing one of Sean's own jokes, "I needed to go see about a young lady." Sean likewise passes on to venture to the far corners of the planet, however not prior to accommodating with Lambeau. The film closes as Chucky piercingly finds, in satisfaction of his own well-established desire, that Will is left for a superior life. Will is then shown beginning his invigorating drive to California for a fresh start with Skylar and a jump into an eccentric future. Don't forget to subscribe and like to not miss any of my next video. See ya.